Okay, so I'm going to be running through my weekly reflection. Today is the 16th of February. Thought I'd come in a new setting for once outside of the damn box that I'm in all the time working. This week was interesting. I slipped up a lot. In my terms, anyway. Like, kept my promises on all my workouts. The only one that didn't is I was supposed to be running a 13-kilometer run today, but because I'm moving away from home in the next 5 to 7 days, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go hit a workout with my friends, do my run tomorrow, it can wait. But we did, on the good side of things, hit a personal record on runs. I did a 7K run in 33 minutes or so. Really good run and pushed my boundaries, and I hit a bunch of new PRs in the gym, which is great. I'd say the biggest thing that I slipped up on this week was doom scrolling. I scrolled a ridiculous amount. Nutrition. While my nutrition was pretty dialed in, the only day that I went over by an excessive amount was yesterday, where I went out for lunch with family, and then honestly I was just bored and I just started eating a shit ton of boiled eggs for no reason at all, and a shit ton of fruit and things like that. But obviously I'm doing a lot of cardio, so I can kind of make up for it. But nonetheless, one thing I realised is, and I've realised this pattern over and over again, when I'm at home for a substantial period of time, the only thing I can really do is work, because there's nothing else for me to do for the most part. I don't really speak to a lot of people in my hometown, and my family are always working, and so am I. To be honest, it's mainly me that's working all the time, so it's kind of hard to do things. And what I've realised is I'm waking up, the weather in the UK is just dull. Let me see if I can show you this. The weather outside, I don't know if you can see it, it's just grey, it's gloomy, it's cold all the damn time. And it's there's nothing to really do except work. So when there's days where I don't have as many calls, like Friday I barely had any calls, Saturday 0 calls, today I'm slammed with interviews, but morning no calls. It's the only thing I have to do is work. And then when there's no work to do, I have to try and find work, which is me sat in Slack waiting for somebody to ping me on something. And it's counterproductive. And I found myself this week getting kind of not burnt out, but just a little bit fucking down and bored. And it made me realize it's I need to go somewhere new. And this is this pattern that happens. I've been at home for about 2 months now. And that whole 2 months, the only thing I've done is work. The only anomaly to that is I've maybe been for 3 dinners over the weekends, and that's it. And it's a couple of hours and then I'm back to work. And don't get me wrong, I love working, but I have so much more energy when I wake up. I'm in a place where the sun is shining, it's not raining or it's icy or it's cold all the time. I have a group or a network of like-minded individuals that I can hang around with all the time, or I'm living with them and I can kind of share ideas with them, we can connect. That's what really brings me energy. And I felt like this week I really slipped up for that reason, taking complete ownership. Basically what happened was I was just eating when I was bored. I was eating my lunch 2 hours earlier than I would at 12. I was eating my dinner at 4 p.m. even though I was still full. And then I would sit there and I was literally binge watching content this week so much it was ridiculous. Still got a lot done, pushed the needle forward, which is great, but just want to hold myself accountable to watching a ridiculous amount of content for no reason. I was watching a lot of Shark Tank, as I said last week, and I said that I wouldn't, and I broke the promise, and I was sat there every time dinner rolled around at 4 p.m, even though I wasn't even hungry, and it was scheduled in my calendar for 6:30, I would sit there, watch Shark Tank, eat dinner, and then because I was so stimulated, I would go back and immediately, while I'm still watching Shark Tank, the 30-minute gap I had would turn into an hour, where I would have calls, or I'd push a call, or I'd make an excuse, and I'd go and just eat more. I'd eat more and more and more. And that was the biggest thing that I realized, that action item next week is, number one, I need to keep my phone outside of my room. Every time that I say it and I don't do it, I scroll, I go to bed late, I wake up fatigued. Wednesday, for example, I was that tired that I just sat there and read, which helped, but then I was nearly falling asleep. And I was just slipping up into shitty habits that I shouldn't be slipping up into. So while this week was great, I made a lot of improvements in the gym with my runs, personal records, had some really great calls with the team, made some great progress in the business. There was also a lot of things that I wasn't at the level that I typically hold my standard to on, which is my nutrition, keeping my word on the times that I eat, my fast in the morning, not indulging in a bunch of content like just before bed, especially like Friday night, Saturday night, when it's very easy to say like, oh, everybody's out, you can just sit there and doom scroll for 5 hours. Like, I shouldn't be doing that, and last night I called myself out on it and started reading. I was asleep at like 8 p.m. And the last 2 nights or so, I think I had like 10 to 13 hours of sleep. No, not 13, that's a bit over the top. Like 10 to 11 hours of sleep. Just to kind of like replenish myself, because I feel like I needed it. Because when you're working all the time, it does get to you, especially over a prolonged period of time. And just to put it into context, like you can see on my YouTube, I've been documenting everything. I really don't think I've had a single day off work in the last 2.5 to 3 years. 2.5. Which is kind of crazy to think about. And yesterday I took some time and went for dinner with my grandparents, tried not to work as much, worked a little bit, had like, 3-4 hours, 5 hours, but it was interesting. Went on a long walk, had a long think about what I actually want. And the truth is, I love working. I don't want to get rid of that. I think I'm one of those people that never, I don't want to switch off. I love being able to think about work, solving problems, about what I'm doing, growing the business, posting content, whatever it is. I love it. But there's some things or some patterns that I pick up on where I'm like, okay, now is the time that I need to take a little bit of a break. Now is the time where I need to move somewhere new. So next week, when you watch this video, I will be in Dubai. I'm moving to Dubai next week. I'm going to test it out for a month and see how we get on. I'm probably going to move there anyway for tax purposes, like 95% certain. But I want to see what it's like. I know a lot of people up there. I'm excited for it. And this marks a new season of my life. Because I've been in this go, go, go mode all the time. I just hired an operations manager. Again, this is our first 6-figure a year position that we've hired within the agency. So making over 100K a year. And again, it makes me realize that at each new level, there is new standards of what you should expect from somebody in terms of what you pay them, right? And you don't have to give them as much step by step and like babysitting as much as you would with somebody that's making $500 a year, or $500 a month even. So it's going to be an interesting transition, giving somebody the problems and letting them figure them out without me chiming in all the time. So yeah, life's very interesting. This week was a weird one. Definitely not my best week. Probably one of the worst weeks I've had from a productivity level in the last 6 months or so. But at the end of the day, one thing that I take ownership on and one thing that I pride myself on is just getting back on track. Not letting these things get to me and be like, oh yeah, I'm in a state where I can't work. No, it's like I had a week where I slipped up. That doesn't make me lazy. That doesn't make me incompetent. That doesn't make me inconsistent. But what it does make me is it makes me realize, okay, I've slipped up. How do I get back on track next week? And it's keeping the promises that I make to myself, moving into a new environment, holding myself accountable, and making sure that on these videos I'm 100% open and honest with everybody else so I can hold myself accountable. But yeah, hope, I don't know why you watch these videos. You're a bit of a weirdo if you like listening to me ramble on like an absolute psychopath. But back to work, my friends. Let's get it.